We go live.
We're live. Too late. Too late. We are live.
When you joshing around on the other one, I just looked at that other one you was on.
Oh,
Well,
wasn't
good
that
evening.
funny?
Good evening, sugar. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. Good evening, Vernon. And we
I
want to
want to know.
welcome. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, finish, baby. So we can welcome everybody to the
Welcome
show.
our viewers to our first Wind Down Wednesday on YouTube. My name is Lavender Shedrick Williams, and I am the owner of Candy Publishing and the creator of The Other Woman magazine. I am joined by Vernon Watson, also known as the Blues Hound, owner of WBQP TV in Pensacola, Florida, and WRNE DJ for the Blues Hound Show, which airs on Saturdays. Vernon, what's that look for?
Huh? I'm
You
just
okay?
looking on my. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to get you on YouTube,
Oh,
just to make sure
okay.
we live on YouTube. That's all. That's about. I'm doing 10 things at one time, and I was trying to find us before on your channel. I could go to your channel.
I know. You know what? Well, anyway, let us. Oh, you know what? This is what I forgot to mention to you. You just recently had an anniversary, didn't you?
I did.
You did. How many years?
4, 5. It's
40,
a trumpet year. A trumpet year.
45 years. Well, congratulations. That is something that I will not ever be able to attain. Is 45 years. 45 years. So congratulations on that.
All
We
right.
last Wednesday we were talking about the bedroom and how important
Last Wednesday, we
sex
were talking about
is in the marriage. And it
Mhm.
may not be the most important thing, but it is extremely important in the marriage to keep a marriage strong. Although there are sexless marriages, there might be medical reasons that there are sexless marriages.
Yeah.
It might be for any number of reasons. But tonight we are talking about a couple of particular articles in the Other Woman magazine. And which one you want to talk about first, the masturbation in marriage or the organic? Which
I'll
one?
let you lead. You said I was too talkative,
Okay.
so I'll let you lead the subject on. But we
No,
got to
I
talk
didn't
about
say
two
you were
subjects.
too.
I know. Didn't on the latest issue of the Other Woman magazine, did you have any contributors talking about that subject at all?
The latest issue. Actually, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It wasn't on masturbation. It was titled Men Seeking Sexual Stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
And she was basically talking about how you have to give your husband what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, oral sex is what she was talking about. And if we don't adhere to our husband's needs, that they may go outside of the marriage.
Okay. All right. So, but tonight's subject, we're just going to talk about masturbation and marriage, and also about masturbations in the church, because the two goes hand in hand. Because do the church advocate masturbation? And let's talk about whether or not masturbation is healthy or unhealthy for a relationship or not. Okay, so those are, and we invite people that are listening in to comment. We want to hear. We want to put your live comments on the vendor,
I
so
got
we
it.
can see anybody that want to comment on this subject. Remind folks that it is Wind Down Wednesday,
Yes, it is. Yes,
and
it
we want
is.
we want them to. I didn't have time to go down to get my Boone's Farm 2020
Thank goodness.
MD 2020. You know what MD means? Yeah,
It's
I told
Mad
the story
Dog.
when, huh? It's
Mad
Mad Dog.
Dog.
Now, when I was growing up, Mad Dog 2020 was the right gut wine, and if you drank that Morgan David, it was the kind of the final wine in our community. Remember those days? Huh?
Yes.
Now, do
That's
you
it.
know?
That was it.
Okay, now you would think that MD stands for Mad Dog 2020, which that's what we all refer to it. But actually, the MD stands for Morgan David. You know that, did you?
Oh, really?
Yes, Morgan David made the MD 2020 wine. So
Wow.
yeah, sure did.
Wow. Well, for
So
those of you who don't know, Vernon is a history buff and a reader. So there's another side to him that you probably won't ever meet. But that's very interesting. That's
yeah,
interesting.
sure is.
Okay.
But any rate, so I got my wine. I don't have the other cheaper. The only thing I can afford is Stella Rose here. Okay,
Okay.
Stella
Stella
Rose. I
Rose
can't.
is it's a sweet wine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sweet wine. I don't
Okay.
like. See, I'm not a wine connoisseur. I don't like that bitter tasting wine. You got everything I like has to taste good.
Okay.
If it
And
don't taste good, I
that's
don't.
actually part of our culture. We like sweet wine, but this
Yeah.
girl here likes dry wine. And
Oh
although I
Lord.
may not be a wine connoisseur, I
Mhm.
used to be a part of a wine club, and I wanted to
I remember
change.
that.
I wanted to train my palate for something other than Kool-Aid. You know, I wanted to.
What's
So
wrong
this
with
is
you?
actually from Argentina,
Mhm.
and it's a dry red wine, and it's very good. So if you try some different things, you'll be surprised what you like. And that brings us back to our topic, trying new things. You know, there was an article in a previous issue about a single woman who had a problem um, reaching orgasm.
Mhm.
And so she brought Bob into her life at the request of some friends who told her about it. Is it Bob? Is it battery operated boyfriend? Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob.
B.O.B.
Yeah, she was
Man,
single.
the little man in the drawer. The little man that you keep in the drawer, Bob. That's his
Yeah,
name. Battery
Bob,
operated. Yeah.
battery operated boyfriend.
Yep. Battery operated boyfriend.
So she
Exactly.
was able to find out more about herself and explore her body, which not only made her feel more sensuous and get in touch with her sexuality, but it also helped her when she met a friend who she became intimate with. And although she still had problems reaching orgasm, they
Mhm.
brought Bob into the bedroom. Yes. And I like what he says about getting to know a woman's body.
Mhm.
You know, some of us are afraid to touch our body or to explore below, to go a little bit deeper, like I like to say. And this young man, I mean,
Yeah. Y'all always say that, but go ahead.
he was, he says, too often men assume they're a beast in the bed, but their woman is in the same bed, bored and waiting for it to be over.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the woman won't always be honest and will rarely tell a man she loves about his poor sexual performance. So they continue to use Bob in the bedroom. And he
Uh-huh.
said it didn't bother his ego or anything. But when it comes to marriage, it doesn't mean that masturbation is over. And for whatever reason, sometimes the other spouse will take it personally, like there's a problem where, as I read, men, masturbation and sex with their significant other are two separate things. They have nothing to do with the other. Is that true?
That's true. Well, one has nothing to do maybe with the other. Okay,
Uh-huh.
men. What I can tell you about men. Well, Lavinia, you got to understand how, and that's what we always talk about the difference between men and women, boys and
Right.
girls. Boys are socialized basically from boys that's their very first sexual experience. Okay, so
Masturbation.
masturbation, yes, masturbation is, and for many of them, their only experience until they finally got about 17, 18 years old when they finally found a girlfriend. But
Right.
yeah, and it's second nature as far as a man is concerned. I can't
Okay.
speak for women because that's why I want you to talk about it from a woman's point of view. I had a
Mhm.
discussion with a woman one time which told me that that they was kind of forced into masturbation because of men's of a man's behavior. Says that her mate come in and wham bam and thank you ma'am and go to sleep and left her there hot and horny, and so she had no problem, no choice but to finish the job herself. Okay, or did I ever tell you about that? Y'all know me. I told you about the chicken and the egg, didn't I?
Yeah, you told me you want to
Okay,
share it again.
yeah, I want to share it again about the chicken and the
Okay.
egg. You know, say the chicken and the egg was making love, and then the chicken's finished, and he was sitting on side of the bed smoking a cigarette, and the egg was over there in a fetal position, all pissed off, and she looks over at the chicken and says, "Now we know the answer to that age-old question."
Who comes first, the chicken
The
or the
chicken
egg?
and egg. So obviously,
You
so
just don't get tired of that joke, do
I,
you?
I love that joke because it's so true. So, Lavenda, so guys, is sometimes in many cases are selfish when it comes to making love, or something very selfish into what I call finishing the job. You know, when they go to bed, when they have sex, it's a selfish thing. I get mine and I hope you get yours. Okay. But the idea is not necessarily for them when they're making love. They ought to be thinking about their partner, the other side.
Right,
Okay.
right,
And the issue here is to try to help make sure that the other side is satisfied as well as you're
right,
satisfied. Okay. Because you wouldn't surely you wouldn't be satisfied if your partner wasn't satisfied, right?
right. Well, that's the whole goal of it, is the togetherness, the being coupled to satisfy each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, and I'm glad you admitted that some men can be selfish with it. But I love how that the man who shared in this article with his girlfriend, he would say there's a certain degree of pressure that men feel to satisfy their significant other. You know, the pressure is there. So a lot of women, and I can only go by with the women that I talk to, who do have a bob or who do masturbate, they don't get that same satisfaction from their significant other. And the more they do it, the more they want to, and the less they're satisfied by that significant other. So,
Okay. Okay. Explain that to me again. Okay. You're saying that because women are not sexually fulfilled.
not all women. I'm just going by the
Well,
ones who
well
shared with me.
okay. Well, let's talk about our same thing, our 80-20 rule. And obviously there's enough of them share with you for it to be an issue, for it to be a problem. And I think
Oh,
most
yeah.
women that's probably listening to you, one of the things I think that women don't share that with men. They don't want men to know that they got another Bob, and they don't want men to know into that because they don't feel like they don't want to hurt the man's little feelings about that he did not sexually satisfy her.
Right,
And
right,
oftentimes they use helpers, toys, and stuff like that to complete their own satisfaction. And I guess and many times many guys don't realize it. Well, they don't realize. Well, they're too selfish to realize it. Really, they think that they've done a good job. That wham bam, thank you, man. The 3 men go to sleep, and they think they did a bang up job. And
right.
y'all don't help, hey, baby. How did I do? Oh, you
Yeah,
did great, baby. You did great.
it was
Because
wonderful. Yeah,
yeah,
you
the
did.
one of the best piece I ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all
But
lie about it.
if they love that man, they will never let him know. You know, they're
Well,
just not, whether it's about their
okay,
performance or their size. And that really doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? If you love that man,
that's true.
that's not a big issue.
But that's the six of it. But the other hand of it is, and I think since we talk about relationship and being open in relationships,
Uh-huh.
wouldn't you think that you would want your man to know what satisfies you and what don't. I think that sometimes is the problem. Even when they get to bed, I mean, we don't like I told you, everybody thinks that they are the world's greatest lover. Nobody
Men,
ever been taught or
men
trained to
do.
be right. We never been taught or trained to do that. We just everybody gets into bed, and women do too. Nobody taught y'all how to make love. You learn that on the job. Okay, so everybody think they are, but when you get there, you don't know what you're doing. You're only gonna know by trial and error. You're only gonna know about when people tell you what happened and what feel good, what not feel good,
Right,
and oftentimes they don't want to talk about it. Okay,
right,
do this feel better when I do this or do that or that or that? They don't like to talk about that.
right,
Why is
right.
that?
Probably just they probably don't even know what makes them feel good. And that's the whole thing with the masturbation is exploring yourself and knowing what makes you feel good. You can better convey that too. But a lot of times women will expect a man to know how to make them feel good. But if you don't know what makes yourself reach that point, you can't convey it to anyone else. And that article, Masturbation in Marriage,
Mhm.
in the magazine, it was written by a PhD, a sex therapist. He
Mhm.
was saying that the more sensuous, the more aware you are with your body, the more you're able to convey those things. But it could be self-esteem and not feeling comfortable with your body. You can be overweight or underweight or embarrassed to even
Yeah,
show your body. Some
yeah.
women don't even like having sex with the
The daytime,
lights on
in the
or in
daytime,
the daytime. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a
who
choice and
knew?
it's just different hangups. And a lot of these can come from past relationships, past experiences, and like you said, the lack of being taught. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Right
And
now,
why is masturbation looked down upon? Why is that a negative thing?
yeah. Well, only when it goes back to the church, right? Now, what the church say about
I don't
masturbation?
know what the church says of masturbation.
You
You brought
don't. I don't know. I don't.
that.
Now, what do you think the church would say? What do you think the Bible would say about that?
I have no idea.
When you
I
well,
have no idea.
do you when somebody told me so two clean bodies can't mess up no sheets, right? Now, I think I think the teachings of the church and religion always teaches against. Why do you think we call them? Why do we do it missionary style? You think that's the term from the church? You just only do it a certain way, and you only do it for procreation. What you call that word when you get ready to just have sex for
Procreation.
children? What you
Oh,
call it? Procreation? I can't
procreate.
pronounce
No.
procreation. Yeah, that big word. When I when I was in school, I couldn't pronounce big word. I just said big word and skip it. But anyway, the church would only teach you about that stuff, Lavender, because they think that you shouldn't have sex for pleasure. Okay, it's a sin to have sex for pleasure. It's only supposed to have sex only because of for children and stuff
To
like
bring
that.
children into the world.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Now, do you think they would endorse masturbation?
You know what, Vernon? I never thought about what the church would say about masturbation. You
Hmm.
would think that they would promote it because if they don't want you to have sex before you get married, what is especially young people, what are they supposed to do with all that bottled up preteen and hormones raging and going through puberty? And like you said, that's usually a young boy's first experience. Are you, what are you doing? Are you talking to me or are you on texting on the phone? What are you doing?
I'm minding my business. What you mind? Now you up there 1,000 miles away. You're gonna try to mind my business. I was googling.
Let's talk
I,
about that. Let that be a topic.
Corporation.
Cell phones and trying to have a conversation.
No, we're not talking.
And that's
You
going to be a
chase
future
when you
topic.
chase too many rabbits, you're not going to catch any of them. So now let's talk about the church and and I was Googling and see what the church says about
You didn't find
masturbation. Oh yeah, you got plenty plenty of
really?
talk about. Yeah, masturbation and so forth. You know, I think church it would take for as masturbation and any subject on sex is always taboo when it comes to church, and I personally don't think that's right personally because I think if we had more talk about sex in school and church sex in church and
At
educate
home.
and at home. Oh man, you're talking about at home. You're okay. Now you done stirred up some memories. You're right. Home, church, and school. And then we'll be a lot more educated on the subject of sex, and we will probably have probably less sexual offenses, if you will, like pregnancy
Right.
and other that kind of stuff like that. But home, let's everything start at home. When I was growing up, sex was a topic nobody talked about. Okay. I got my ass whooped one day when I told my sister, Levin, this is a true story. And I was just messing around. I didn't know where babies came from. And I happened to tell my sister one day, hey, I know where babies come from. Okay. And she said, yo, mannish ass bone, tell them on you. And she did. And my mama whooped my ass because I said I knew,
Really?
and I really didn't know where it came from. But I know by her whooping my ass, that made me more curious about it. So I had to find out where do babies come from. I said, now I know why I got an ass whooping. But
Okay.
the issue is, had mama talked about it,
Right.
okay, about sex at home
Right.
with her children, her sons and her daughters and everything, wouldn't you think that would we be more
Definitely.
informed and more educated on?
And more
I know,
relaxed
yeah,
about it.
I know late girls didn't get pregnant because they didn't have any idea about what sex was about, what to expect, those kind of things. They just tell you those other things. Don't let nobody look under your dress, touch you in your dress. They ain't saying nothing about going down in front of it though. But
Well,
anyhow,
you know what? Well, you know what, Vernon? They probably did not talk about it because nobody told them about it. But
true, true.
I wasn't taught a lot about sex. I remember when my cycle started, I remember my mother saying, you know, you can get pregnant now.
Uh-huh.
And that was it. But when I was raising my boys, we would go get books on puberty. And I
Yeah.
remember, this is a funny story. I remember, I think they were like probably seven and 5 or something like that. We were talking about wet dreams, and they had a
Right.
book and it talked about, you know, the private parts and explained it. So we were sitting there, this was part of our homeschool. So I asked the oldest one, do you ever wake up and your private part, and I said penis, is it erect?
Mm-hmm.
And he said no. He shook his head no. And the youngest one said, I do. And I wouldn't expected him to be so young to say that. But like you said, and that kind of, it'll catch a mother off guard because I didn't have brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I only knew what I read about
Right.
that. So I don't know why we don't talk about it more. Every family is different, but it sure would help a lot. And I learned they had sex education when I went to high school. It was just a small part. I don't even remember what subject it was, but we learned about where babies came from in that class. I remember that because I was shocked.
You were shocked, really?
I
I had
was
to learn it.
shocked.
When I was growing up, we didn't have sex education. I got all of my sex education in the streets. Okay, all in the streets and in all the wrong ways. You know, people that tell you stuff. When you learn about the real stuff, then
Right.
you look back on all of the other crazy stuff that people teach you. You know, you was taught all wrong, and that give us more reason to have sex education in school. So at least you're taught the right way. The closest thing I came to sex education in school is in biology class when I was in
Yeah.
high school, but 11th and 12th grade in high school about sex in the biology class. That's the closest thing we
Yeah.
got to it.
Yeah. And you know what? Who's equipped to teach that to the children? And
Right.
Sandy, hi Sandy, thanks for tuning in. Sandy says most families in the 1950s and 60s did not talk about sex and how our bodies change at certain ages. And you know what? That's true. And it is so sad to have a young girl to even get her cycle, to start her menstruation. And did I say that right? I hadn't used that word in a long time. And not know what to do or to be by herself. But going back to the masturbation, there were some mothers, and this was all in homeschooling, who encouraged their young daughters before they were teenagers to masturbate so they wouldn't go out there and have sex. They taught them how to satisfy their own sexual urges. So it's a choice.
Right.
It's a choice.
A little bit. I'll go back to what you said. Now, you would never taught about, and I don't. When you had your first period, you didn't know anything about periods, right? Okay. So, what do you thought was happening to you?
Well, I knew it was going to come, but that was it.
No. When your first one you had,
I knew it was. I knew about it, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? That was it. I remember going to my mother.
Okay.
And telling her that I started.
I can't imagine, and I know probably many girls went through this, that for the very first time that they had a cycle and not knowing why and what and that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden they find themselves in that situation. It must be devastating to think that, well, what is happening to me? Because parents didn't want to talk about it in those days. Now, going back to the subject of masturbation, I was telling you about the religion. A little bit I can find so far about, I think Catholicism kind of promoted masturbation. They said it's okay to have sex and for children and for pleasure and stuff like that. But that's what I like about the Catholic religion. They're so real. They don't, to me, they are so real. They'll drink and they'll clown and they'll cuss and they'll say 3 Hail Marys and do this kind of stuff, and you good. But us Baptist people, Lord, we're the biggest hypocrite God ever created. Okay, they will say one thing and do another, and the preacher could preach on the pulpit about all this kind of stuff, and he got a bottle of liquor up under there, and when he's sipping on that, you think he be sipping on some that kind of stuff. And we are the most hypocritical. I can speak for Baptist because I've been a Baptist all my life. Okay, and we talk against sex. I can remember. You remember we talked about this time about. I can remember that when I was growing up, and in the church, where the girl got pregnant in the church, and they threw her out of the church. And then she went, in order for her to get back in the church, she had to get in front of the whole church and beg forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. And the preacher and the same guy, may not been the preacher, but probably was, but the same guy that got her pregnant didn't have to do any of that. Okay.
Well, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
How we get on the subject of
the subject is masturbation and whether or not is it okay. I guess the subject is because it's one of those subjects that like everybody does it, but nobody wants to talk about it. Okay. And so is it okay to masturbate? I guess that is the question. It's somewhat, it's somewhat a taboo. I think it's almost a given for boys when they grow up because they're going to masturbate. I don't know about teenage girls masturbating, but I know it's on with teenage boys. Okay. It is absolutely on with teenage boys. So you don't have to teach them that. They get that out in the streets and they know about masturbation. Okay. Now the question is about talking about masturbation in marriage. That's what we start this conversation off with.
Wait a minute, before you hold that thought, Sandy says when young girls became pregnant, they said she broke her leg. Is that true?
What you mean, Sandy?
She broke her leg.
She said when young girls become pregnant,
my goodness. So that was that she was bleeding.
Okay. No. I think Sandy is talking about, sometimes when young girls get pregnant, they send them away to stay with the aunt, or they don't see him for a while. I don't know what she meant. What I'm saying? So there's kind of a thing that you don't want anybody to know. That was back in the day.
Gotcha.
It's You don't use back in the day. You
Yeah,
were
they
supposed to
did.
have
They
a
sent
child
them
out of
away.
wedlock. Okay,
Yeah,
it's norm now. So you don't.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the new norm to have one in wedlock.
yeah. Okay, go back to your thought before you forget it.
I'm forgetting my thought. What was I saying?
Oh my gosh.
What was I talking about?
You know what? I'm gonna
No,
have
no,
to.
no. I'm just kidding you. No, we was talking about the issue of
The church.
is it okay
Masturbation. Is it okay?
masturbation masturbation okay in a marriage?
Right.
Okay, is it okay in a marriage? Some people think that, well, you must be oversexed if you have an active sexual life in your marriage, and then you still tend to masturbate. Okay, now everything has an extreme. I don't know, like pornography. You talked about pornography
Right.
about the issue. I, is it? I don't know whether that's healthy or not. I don't know. Each to his own. Um, but I do know about realization. We talked about people that having to be not satisfied during this sexual interaction, and they just had to complete the job because they want that self
You keep
satisfaction.
saying complete the job. It's not always about completing a job. I mean, you make it sound like it's a chore, but
Okay, I hear
in
you.
my reading and in Dr. Lay's article, it's more like an accessory to what already is with their partner. It's an addition. It enhances sex with their partner when they masturbate. And as we said earlier, one doesn't have to do with the other. You know, it's a form of satisfaction, but it's satisfaction with their own body. But
Okay,
a
okay,
wife would probably take it personal. It's like, why are you masturbating when I'm right here?
okay. I think I hear what you're saying now. I think from his article, what I glean from his article, Levin, is that, and that's what I always say, is that it really, and you just said it earlier yourself, when you love somebody, it doesn't matter. When I said complete the job, I'm talking about, when I say that, I'm talking about to bring yourself to satisfaction. Okay,
Reach an
whether
orgasm.
whether than the orgasm or whatever, it may not be an orgasm. Some people don't even get orgasm sometimes, but whatever
Right.
completes it to your satisfaction is what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Okay, and some people, uh, because you don't have to go there, because it's not about getting an orgasm. Many people have not gotten orgasm, but they was completely satisfied with the sexual performance, and
Right.
only because of how they feel about that person. Okay,
Right.
you can make love. I can make love to my woman and not ever achieving an orgasm, but long as I think that she's
Right.
satisfied, I'm
Right.
satisfied. Okay, I'm satisfied with it, and I think that's a lot of times when what women has to do more often than
You
men.
still haven't said.
Yes, man, but I still having sex, girl. It is on and popping. And and that's another subject we're gonna save for another day. For another day, sex and seniors. Okay, put that down. Sex and seniors and sex. Okay,
Okay.
because you'll be surprised, and you know what? You won't be surprised, but you look at the statistics, and not only because sexual, the how much sex going on thanks to Viagra for the most part, but also seniors, there's a high a number of STD that goes on with
Yes.
seniors. So,
Yes.
but put that down. We'll talk about seniors and sex on another topic, but we're gonna stick on our topic of masturbation tonight because people think that's taboo. I sometimes think that we're talking about relationships and what will make a relationship better. If masturbation is one of the things that will enhance or help your relationship, so be it.
Right.
If it's not one of those things that you want to bring into your bedroom, all well and fine. Sometimes it's all left personal, and that's why a lot of women, whether they want to admit this or not, They all have bobs. They all have those little
No, they
sexual.
don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they
80% of
don't.
80% of them. 80% of them. 80-20 rule.
Where
I
you
bet
get
you
that
80%.
statistic from, Bernie?
80
Where
to
do you
20.
get that statistic from? But before you go,
Hey,
let me
look,
write that down so
Lavenda,
you
I
don't
bet
forget.
you.
Hold on,
I
hold
bet you
on.
got about 3 in your bedroom right now.
I've never used a bob, but we're going
Yeah,
back there
right.
for a minute. Wait a
Okay.
minute.
All right.
Dr. Lay says people masturbate for a variety of reasons, including desire for sexual pleasure, stress release, and to experience private, self-focused sensations without the distraction of a partner.
Mhm.
But when people masturbate within the context of an intimate relationship, it can be valuable to understand the motivation behind it. So people masturbate for different reasons. So even
Right.
if you could be married and masturbate and not
Mhm.
want to bother your partner, or maybe the focus is there because it takes a lot of focus to masturbate to bring yourself
How
to
you
an
know that?
orgasm. I read it. I read it. I read a lot
I,
of it.
n-
And
I-
you know what? I'm glad you
you
said that.
sound like a woman talking to the experience to me.
Let's go back to Bob. I've never used a Bob. And as a matter of fact, the young lady who wrote that article, Organic Orgasm, no, never. I promise you, I haven't. I
Wait a
probably
minute, Lavenda. Are you
women.
saying? Wait a minute. Before you go to that, are you trying to say that you have never masturbated?
You use your hands.
What you saying as
Okay,
opposed?
look,
And
if I'm going to answer it,
people play with words. I never used a sex toy, what we call a battery operated boyfriend.
of
But
course I've
but
yes,
but
I
they
have. But
but they have the hands is the primary use of one.
okay,
Okay.
everybody does not masturbate the same way also.
Right.
Everybody doesn't masturbate below. There are many parts of the body that can bring a woman or a man sensation. So that's the part that we're saying. You have to know your body because a man's going to think, I'm going there, hole in one. I'm going right there.
Literally.
And I'm going to bring her to an orgasm. Every woman is different. Every
True.
woman does not
I
obtain
agree.
an orgasm between her thighs. It may
I
not
agree.
be that route. It might
Right.
be another, it might be a kiss on the back of the neck. You have to know that woman, and that's where men
Did you
don't want to take the time to get to
know
know
that? All right, we're on the same wavelength now. We're on the same wavelength.
Okay.
Let me ask you this: did you ever see the movie Deep Throat?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, the reason I bring
That's
that,
a porn movie, isn't it?
yeah, it's a porn movie.
No, I
It's
ain't
porn.
seen that.
Oh God,
No, I
can you?
haven't seen
All right,
that.
but anyway, you must
No.
have been living on the rock. But okay, let me tell you about that. Okay, well,
So
just
you
to
watch porn.
accentuate. No, I have watched porn, but I'm not a porn watcher. But I have
Okay,
watched
but you
porn.
watch
Okay,
Deep Throat.
yeah, I did watch Deep Throat. That was back in the 70s. Probably, it is probably the very first one that I ever watched. Hey, let me tell you a little story about that. You've been in the Navy, and I've been in the Navy, right? And the first time I got a chance to see it, Deep Throat. And I want to tell you why I'm talking about Deep Throat in a minute. But let me make this point.
Okay.
The very first time I saw Deep Throat, I was in the Navy. Okay, somebody had copied back then, back in the 70s, 75. We first videotape players had just came out. The military had one because we used to use them in training, right? It was black and white. It wasn't in color. It was in black and white, right? And somebody obviously recorded this the Deep Throat on one of the black and white military recorders.
Oh my
And this is the
gosh.
truth. This is the truth. Now, this truth, so help me. We used to have a private showing every Friday. All the military guys every Friday about 2:00. It was Friday evening, and we used to go and look at Deep Throat on that VTR. That VTR.
Y'all used to watch that together.
We used to all military, yeah. Whoever wanted to watch, all the military guys, everybody knew about it. They used to watch it. It's just
That's
one thing that we
crazy.
did. But let me tell you why I brought the point up about Deep Throat, and you and you bring up a very valid point, and that's what a lot of guys need to know, and that's what a lot of women need to know also as well about guys. Everybody don't always have the same level of satisfaction. They don't always have the same area of satisfaction.
Right.
What you're talking about. Well, in the whole premise of Deep Throat is that there's Linda Lovelace was the star, right? And Harry was the I guess was the doctor, and she couldn't reach orgasm. She never understood why she couldn't reach orgasm. Okay, and they had a pretty scene in there. Had this guy was trying to help her reach her orgasm, so he couldn't do that. He couldn't do it manually, physically, the normal way, and then he couldn't even do it. He couldn't reach. She could get orgasm. He was doing it the oral way. So one day he and then she always referred to her thing as her thing. Okay. And so one day he decided to pour some Coca-Cola down there, right? And then he took some Coca-Cola. This is one of the funny part of the sting. He took a Coca-Cola, put some Coca-Cola down there, and took a straw and drank it out of there with a straw. Then he finished and he said, things do really go better with Coke. I thought that was
funny to me.
I thought that was a funny scene when that was Coca-Cola theme back then. But now I said all that to say, you know what gave her orgasm? Her clit, or whatever we want to call it, was in her throat and not there. And the only way she could achieve orgasm is because of that's why they named the thing deep throat. And because you know how I ain't have to tell you the rest of the story, but that's how she achieved her satisfaction, which accentuate the point you just talked about people achieve satisfaction in different ways. Our job is to learn that. But
right.
But sometimes, Lavinda, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we won't share that with each other.
Right.
Now, how do you suppose a man's supposed to satisfy you if he don't know how to satisfy you? He's just down on a search and rescue mission. He don't know what. When he thinking he's doing one thing, and you thinking, "Oh Lord Jesus, I'd be glad when he do his duty and go on home."
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
What? Unless it's a marriage, I don't think a woman is going to take the time. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a
but she want to be satisfied, right?
Well, yeah.
But why would she take the time? I'm not talking about a one night stand.
Marriage.
I'm talking about even marriage or even in a long-term relationship, right?
Right.
Yeah, but that's true. But they also want to know if you got a relationship with somebody or if you got a marriage with somebody, surely that is the time to be upfront and be honest with one another.
Most men wouldn't be able to handle the truth. They wouldn't be able to handle the truth because you all think you're doing something, and you know what?
But why do we think that, Lavinda? Because y'all lied to us and tell us
because we probably make you feel sorry for you. We feel sorry for you. Sorry for working all hard and sweating. But you know what?
Baby,
what, Vernon?
Baby, hey, you right though. How did I do, baby? How did I do? They seek feedback and who your daddy? Who your daddy?
But you know what? I remember in the Navy, I was in the Navy and I was in a relationship with this guy, and he was small. He was very small, and he brought it up, because he wanted to know how I felt. I didn't have the heart to tell that man. You know what? You might want. I didn't have the heart to tell him. Thank God the relationship didn't last long, but I didn't have the heart to tell him.
But I tell you what now, Lavinda, in his defense, now if you was in love with him, it wouldn't have mattered. You were just in lust. You wasn't in love with him.
It was definitely lust. Young and just
put that subject down too. Size the size matters. That's another discussion we need to talk about. Okay. Because that is important in relationships. Okay.
Now, as I talk, Vernon, I don't want anybody to think that I've been with all these guys, all these experience. I can count the number of guys I've been with on one hand and have a finger or two left over. But what are you going to say? You're cutting me off. It must be important. What?
You don't mind them knowing that you've been with Tom and Harry, but you just don't want to know that you've been with Dick, do you?
Okay, being in the military, In the Navy, I always say this, women are really no different than men. We
Mhm.
know what goes on out there. People are sleeping
Right.
around. You're sleeping around with married folks. It's just, that's just sailors. That's military. What
Mhm.
do they say? You got a woman in every port, a man in every port, all of that. I'm just going on the few experiences that I have. But
Lavender.
what?
Okay. You
You
need to
keep
write.
cutting me.
I know, but every time you say something, brings up so many more
I know
important,
you're married. Go ahead.
so many more important things in relationship that we need to talk about. And a lot of things I talk about in my book of love. That is the same thing that I was talking about also about numbers. I don't care. And Chris Rock said this
About what?
about women and how many partners they had. I
Okay.
don't care how Chris Rock says, I don't care what number a woman give you, you need to multiply it by 10.
That's a
Because she's
lie.
never going to be
That's a
really,
lie.
well,
That's a
that's what he said.
lie.
That's what he said. You need to at least multiply it by 10.
That's a
Be-
lie.
because you, okay, I'm
That's a
just telling you.
lie.
No, that's not a lie. That's true. That's true.
It's a
You wouldn't,
lie. I'm telling you,
if
it's a
you went with,
lie.
if you've been with 100 men, you're going to tell your next partner, because they're going to damn sure ask you, but they don't want, like you said, they don't want to hear the truth. They're going to say, well, how many guys you been with? You said, well, 150.
Well,
Now
you know
you,
what? I guess if you're embarrassed at the number, you probably would lie.
right. So
Yeah,
what's the
you
good number
would.
then? That's another subject to talk about. What's a good number for a woman? And now for guys,
Why does
it's
that have anything to do? That's her personal business.
I
Well,
understand
you
that.
all
Well,
can go out
no,
and just, what did you tell me before, Vernon? You said a man has that pimp mentality. The one who
yeah,
has the most women wins.
yeah,
But for a woman, all of a sudden we're a whore, a slut, a hoe. If we have more than a couple notches, what do we have a notch? Are they called notches in our belt? I don't even know what they're called. But it's just that we're treated differently. It's really
true.
no business. We don't
That's
want to know
true.
how many people you've been with, but with sexual diseases going on right now,
You
you
would
know,
want to know.
a
But that's the
single,
very reason you want to know because of the sexual diseases.
yes, as a single woman these days, I'm good by myself. I'm not even trying to go there. Our first date, if
That
I
is
ever
why you
date
promote
again,
masturbation, isn't it?
our first date will be at a doggone clinic. Let me see your results because I'm not trying to go there. You got men on a down low. You got
That's
it's just
another subject.
crazy.
That's another subject. A down low man and a low down man. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah. So just being careful. So back to the masturbation. It is a choice. Whether
Hmm.
the church promotes it or agrees with it or not, again, it's a choice. Um, if I had girls, I believe I would encourage my girls to explore their body, to know their body more, not just for satisfaction purposes, but to know their body. A woman should feel free to feel sexy and sensuous. And one good way to do that is to know your body. Most men know all the parts of a woman's body, like
But
our articles on the value of the vagina. Most
yeah,
men know those parts more than a woman would know and be able to label their own parts of her reproduction system. So it's all
but
about knowledge. It's all
okay.
about knowing yourself.
Let me hear you. Let me rephrase what I thought I heard you say. Okay.
Okay.
If you had girls, you would encourage them
I would.
to masturbate. In other
Yeah.
words, to say that. Okay. Now, contrary to that, you had boys.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I didn't
Did
have to
you?
encourage them.
Why not? I know you didn't, because they're gonna do it anyway. But why wouldn't you? Why didn't you encourage them to masturbate instead of
I
going
didn't
out there and
have
trying to?
to.
Why
I didn't
not?
have to
You know,
because they
why
were
would you?
doing it. I didn't
Well,
have
why?
to. You don't
Why
have to
can't
encourage a male to masturbate.
all of you
That's
know
how
that your
they,
Vaseline bill went up, right?
I don't know nothing about that. I just knew. I can learn some stuff from you. You have mentioned a couple of things tonight I don't know nothing about. Nothing about.
That is why I'm here, and that's why you're there because that's the men, that's the Venus and the Mars stuff that we talked about.
Right.
Because you
Right.
don't, because from a woman's perspective, they have no idea because they never lived as a man. And
Right.
because you never lived as a man, you never understand what mentality a man go through, what he has in his head.
And on that note, that organic orgasm that's
Hmm.
in the last, She Gets Better with Time. I
Hmm.
like what this guy says. Not every woman can have an orgasm as easily as the next. Some women may need a little help to find that right spot to help her experience the big O. Don't
Right.
be afraid to explore her body if she lets you. If you love a woman, you'll care a little more about her satisfaction more than your own. And you mentioned that men are usually selfish
Right.
when
Right.
it comes to that. It's all about,
All
them
about them.
reaching
Yeah.
that point and not
Right.
thinking about the woman.
Well, I think if he really loved it, he would care about it. He would care about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of backtrack on that a little bit, Lavender,
Hmm.
because I think men, when it comes to sex, I think they just selfish by nature. Whether they
Yes, men
love
are
them,
selfish by
whether they love
nature.
them or not, they will still do that if you allow them to do that. But I think though that because y'all acquiesce with our BS sometimes, that we don't think we have to do that.
Right.
When we shortchange you in the bedroom, you encourage us to continue to shortchange you by not saying anything. The example I always use
The
all the
doormat.
time about the doormat. You always, if I keep wiping my foot on you, I'm gonna consider you a doormat. So if you always encourage, not only that did you say anything, you encourage it, baby. How did I do? You did great, baby. You did great because you love them. You don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't think it's enough about hurting the feelings because you got feelings too. I think those
Right.
feelings should be mutual, and you just say, "Okay, baby, we need to talk." Okay, I didn't get, I wasn't as satisfied as you, and so here's what you can do to help me, or vice versa.
Right.
Same kind of a
Right.
thing. Yeah. So this is one of those kinds of things that we encourage couples to talk about, but the bedroom, masturbation and sex and the whole 9 yards is one of those things that 80% of the folks don't like to talk. But you got that 20% is on now. Then not only they'll a woman not know, but she'll teach him. But we ain't
Right.
talking about that. We're talking about,
And
yeah.
even the young girls, Sandy says, and thank you for your comment, Sandy. I'm surprised you're up. I think it's past your bedtime too. She says, for young girls, you can recommend the book Our Bodies, Ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It was last updated in 2005, but it was originally
Written
written in the
written in
1970s.
1970s. Yeah.
So Our Bodies, Ourselves. So if a mother or an aunt or anyone, female, who is raising girls and doesn't know how to talk to her about her body, or maybe she doesn't know or feels uncomfortable about it,
Mm-hmm.
she can mention that in that book, Our Bodies, Ourselves. So if Sandy recommended it, it's probably a good book. I haven't read it. I don't know anything about the book, but it's helpful to know. And that's
I think
always
I think Dr. Winburn is on to something, because when you can't have those discussions. Well, not that you can't have those discussions, but when the situation seems to be too embarrassing or you don't want to have those conversations, then kind of recommend some external sources like the book or a
right,
friend. Lavender, we just moved it from a partner back down to children. Sometimes what works for parents is that sometimes the kids don't hear it from you anyway. They don't want to, even if you tell them the truth, they don't want to hear it. So you have to use a surrogate in order to get through to them. Their favorite aunt or their favorite uncle,
yeah,
or somebody like that, or a sister, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That they will listen to.
part of that
And
village.
yeah, exactly. Part of that village that you have to use to get to children. Now, what about your partner? Okay. If you didn't want to talk about it, how can you get the message to your partner if you didn't want to talk about it, if you're too embarrassed to talk about it with your partner? What do you recommend with that? Her
What
best
if he
friend?
didn't? What?
Yeah.
about his
If you wasn't,
performance.
yeah, let's say for an example.
Well, a woman knows how to be creative. You know, if she really wants him to know,
Mhm.
do this, do that, move his hand, move position, you know, take control, take control, you know. So if a woman really wants that man to know, she'll let him know that.
Lavender,
Why are you laughing?
because you,
What is
you
so funny?
you brought up when everything you say something. I like having this conversation on YouTube because we can talk about this on you. We can't do this on the radio, but you're talking about without telling them what you want. It kind of reminded me, and I don't have to be wrong. Of my first, well, it wasn't my first experience, but it was my first experience of somebody wanting me to have oral sex with them, and and I wouldn't I didn't believe in that. Okay. And but rather than she asking me that, so why don't we have oral sex or do you participate in oral sex? When we was in the act of making love, right? She was just gonna try to push my head down there. And stuff like that. That was her way of letting me know, okay, I want this done to me. I had to tell her, baby, I like cheese, but I ain't no rat. I like stuff, but not like that. But I learned later on in life
How old were you?
what I was missing. I was probably about I was in the Navy first when I first got in the Navy, must have been about 20 years old. About then. It must have been 20 years old. I was in it first two when I was, and in fact, Lavender, it had to be 20 because I was in training in Memphis, Tennessee. That's when I was one of my first,
Okay.
not my first duty station, but when when you send your training for your AC, what you call it? You've been. I saw another AC the other day, by the way. But anyhow, they sent me to training up there. But I was
Okay.
young then.
So
I
you
was
were
young.
in training in more ways than one.
More ways than one. More ways than one. And probably being from Burnt Corn, Alabama, I probably hadn't even heard of that stuff like that.
And you know what? It's a new world now. The
Uh-huh.
way we were brought up and raised, and sex and sexual experiences, it's a whole new world now. You know,
Yeah.
they're just so open and free, and the girls are more aggressive and take control and go after what they want. It's just a whole, this generation is just, it is wild. I
Yeah.
know now they might be watching. I let my boys know certain girls how they dress.
Uh-huh.
Don't even bring them to the doorstep because they won't get in if they're not dressed like a young girl. All of that stuff, but it's just different now.
Well,
I wouldn't want to raise a teenager in these days for nothing in the world. And I got two nieces, and one is in high school. And Lordy B, my God, I would probably go with her if I was her mother. Just beautiful, got a body like I don't know
well,
what. And
well,
you
you
know
didn't.
what men think.
I know, but you didn't already taught them how to masturbate. What else do you expect?
I didn't teach them how to masturbate.
Well, you said you would if you had
My
girls.
nieces, they
I
were my
figured you since you
nieces.
didn't have any daughters of your own, I thought you put your nieces in the
No,
training.
be careful what you teach other people's children. I don't care, family or not, you know. But going back to the marriage,
Okay.
Vernon, it is
Okay.
so important. And because it's going on 10 o'clock, as we come to a close, what do we always say for the other woman? It's about choices.
Yeah.
It's about choices. What works in your bedroom, those are your choices. But you want to be free enough
Mm-hmm.
to express yourself and to let your partner know what you like and what you don't like to reach a level of sexual satisfaction in your relationship or marriage. Because, hey, I always say you got one life. Sex may not be the most important thing, but you want that to be a fulfilling part of your marriage, of your relationship. So if you don't, ladies, if you don't, and I'm guilty of this also, if you don't know your body, don't be afraid to explore your body and get to know your body. Some women are afraid to touch their body, but it's your body. And going back to the church, a lot of things you just don't do. You know what I'm saying? You just don't do. But I'm thinking, okay, if this is my temple, surely God wants me to know the ins and outs of where I dwell, of where He dwells. This is your temple. This is your vehicle for everything that you do. So why wouldn't you want to explore the body that you're going to live in all of your life here on earth?
Well, you don't get any disagreement with me on that. I think that, Lavender, that people sometimes, like we always say that this is reality, okay?
Right.
And you either do it the right way, you're wrong way, but they're gonna do it. But we want to encourage folks to do it. It's not. I think with this whole subject about masturbation and so forth in relationships and in marriages and outside of marriages, in the church and outside the church, because the church has an influence on everything that we
Everything.
do, everything that we do. And sometimes people have to decide on their own whether or not whatever the influences of the church going to have on you,
Right.
you're going to have to use what I call a little bit of common sense with it, okay? And knowing that this is not heaven, this is earth, and we have to live our lives on earth the way earth can live. When we get to heaven, he may not want you to church yourself then. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is that we want folks to understand in relationships that whether you decide that is a part of your experience or not, you would probably at least have some options of thinking about if it helps your relationship, what's wrong with that? Okay.
Right.
Now, if it hurts your relationship, obviously you may not want to deal with it. Okay. Or if you remain neutral about it, that's fine too. Just like you said, it's about choices.
And you know,
And
I thought of something before I forget.
okay.
I know three virgins, grown women,
Hmm.
virgins. So this whole masturbation thing
Hmm.
before you go into a marriage, you know what I'm saying? As a grown woman, never having sex before, your husband, 9 times out of 10, he's experienced. He's had sexual partners before. So to go in there blindly, you don't want to put all of that burden on him to introduce you to what's the word? Not intimacy, um, sex, sexual performance, to know something about your body
Hmm.
before somebody is allowed to enter your body. Masturbation, I don't know. I think it just be, even if you don't masturbate, to explore your body, just to explore your body and know your body. That's really important because some men just, they don't know what to do with that. If to
Hmm.
be with a woman who's never had sex before and to have to teach her, my God, he may not know how to teach you. He's going to go based off of his past experiences, which might not be good
Right.
experiences.
Exactly.
So you want
Exactly.
to know for yourself.
I got a question for you though. Is Are you still a virgin if you experience masturbation and never a man?
Of course you are.
Okay, why is that?
What is that? The hymen has to be broke. Well, shoot, I don't know. I'm answering that like I'm some kind of sexual therapist. I
Thank you,
don't know.
thank you, Dr. Ruth.
Hey, all this reading I'm doing on sex, I'm starting to feel like one. But
That's a legitimate question. I heard somebody ask the other question the other day about the same thing. Is it considered? Would it be considered your virginity? You losing your? How does a woman lose her virginity? How many ways? But I think the conclusion is that you would probably there's all the other forms of sex. The vaginally way of making love is the only way you lose your virginity, because then it goes back to the word virginity. How did the word virginity comes up? It's associated with the vagina. So if you didn't have a vaginal sex, then you probably would still be a virgin.
That's another show.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. But there's so much to talk about on relationships and stuff like that folks don't want to talk about out loud, Lavender, that I think is worthy of speaking. They don't want to read my book of love. I was talking about, somebody asked you, what made you qualify to write a book on relationship? Well, I'm qualified. I live life a long time, and I experienced based on my own personal experience, based on the many, many, many accounts of other people's experiences I heard over the years. I probably think I'm probably more qualified than some of the so-called experts, okay, that I never experienced any of this stuff. And I use the example in my book about if like a college professor, you can go to college, right? And you got a teacher that teaches you business management. He teaches you all about that kind of stuff, but he never worked a day in business, at all. And so is he better qualified to teach you about business than that person that has 20, 30 years that actually sit behind a desk and made mistakes and did this and another? You know what I'm saying? I think that person would probably be more valuable in telling you.
So everything you shared is based on experience.
No. Well, based on my experience or other people's experience, not based on theory. I got a lot of theories about a lot of things that I never got a chance to do. But some of my theories, but honestly, some of my theories is based on what other people had experienced. It just proves my theory.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's just like me. I'm not going to give anybody advice on their marriage, but I can talk about marriage. I can talk about relationships. They say, well, you divorced. What you know about keeping a marriage together? Well, maybe I do now because mine didn't work. So I know what not to do. I know what works. You know what I'm saying? And
don't work. Yeah.
They have books out there, but experience is a wonderful teacher. But Vernon, this is after 10. Let's go ahead and close.
Wait a minute, Lavender. I got see how much left in this bottle? See how much left in that bottle? So we got to finish. I got to finish my bottle.
Well, you don't have to finish that by yourself. But while you're drinking that, we're just going to share the Other Woman magazine on Saturdays at noon. Vernon is gracious enough to allow the Other Woman magazine a 30-minute segment on his show, The Blues Hound shows every Saturday at noon. Now he comes on from 10 o'clock to 2 p.m., but the Other Woman segment is at noon every Saturday. WRNE980.com or his YouTube channel, The Blues Hound, and now on Facebook, WBQP Vernon Watson. So you can catch him on Saturdays on his page, and I also share it on my page. And every Wednesday night, we will be here on YouTube. So please, we're going to be doing some magazine giveaways soon, but you have to subscribe to both of our channels, Lavender Shedrick Williams and The Blues Hound Show. Are you under Vernon Watson or The Blues Hound, Vernon?
On my YouTube channel?
Is it Vernon Watson?
I think it's Vernon Watson. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I ain't got but one. Let me pull it up and see. Let me pull it up and see how to
candypublishing.net to check out the magazine and order the magazine. It comes out 3 times a year. It's $10 per issue. And we are going to talk more about the articles the topics that we discussed tonight are in one of the 3 magazines. And the latest one is out She's Going Deeper. It is out, and if you have subscribed, your order will be shipped to you. And I have to reiterate, mailing process is very, very slow because of the corona pandemic. So it can take up to 2 weeks for you to get your magazine. It's coming directly from Amazon. I usually ship them out myself, but to protect myself and stop making multiple visits to the post office, they're going to be coming directly from Amazon. So did you find out your channel, Vernon?
Yeah, it's Vernon. It's on the Vernon Watson.
Vernon Watson. Okay. Under Vernon Watson. So we will be giving away some magazines soon. So like both of our YouTube channels, and this was our first one. I think it went over well. We'll replay it and share it on Facebook soon, not immediately, because we want to draw people to the YouTube channel. But you got any closing remarks?
No, I thank you. I appreciate it. I like the candor, and I like to keep it open, and I like to talk about stuff that nobody else likes to talk about, even though it's true. But sometimes it purifies what we talked about earlier when we saying about our parents, when they never talked about certain subjects that we needed to talk about, but they never shared with us. So that's what we're doing with this. And then people never don't like to talk about these kind of things.
Right.
So, hey, why not?
Well, we're bold enough to talk about it.
We're
just
bold
keeping
enough.
It real.
Keeping it real.
And any topics that you all may want to discuss or have us discuss, send us a message, and we'll discuss it. And nothing is off limits with the Other Woman topic. It is a classy magazine. I love to say that. It's not a trashy magazine. It's classy. And we talk about and discuss topics that are considered taboo. And it is not just my writing. Like I mentioned, Vernon is a regular contributing writer. We have a section for men, singles, married, and we're even trying to get the younger girls
turn to my chapter and show them what I'm talking about this month in this quarter. See if you find it in there.
Yes. So Vernon's article in this latest one is titled "The Value of the Vagina." And can I see it? The value of the vagina, a man's perspective.
Yeah, fellas, it costs us a lot of money, and we're willing to pay it too.
Yes. Now, I also have a perspective. So there's a man's perspective and a female perspective in this upcoming issue, The Value of the Vagina. And again, The Other Woman is to help you to know your value, know your worth as a woman, and for you to live your life according to your choices with no regrets, unapologetically. So we want you to meet the other woman, embrace the other woman, and free the other woman. And we will see you.
And that being said, if you want to masturbate, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to masturbate if you choose not to masturbate, like Lavender claimed that she doesn't. Do y'all believe that? I don't believe that. No more.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you said that.
Open up another conversation.
Yeah, you said that. But anyway, let me finish. Anyway, we want you to choose whatever you want to do. We want you to be ashamed of what you want. If you want to, you want to invite your partner into your masturbation, go ahead and do that. Okay, just open the door for it, and you might be surprised how welcome it might be, or not. But I think it will. So I think it can enhance it. So I hope we laugh and talk about these subjects. We laugh at a lot of things, and I joke about a lot of things, but in all seriousness, it all has a lot to do with how we get along with one another in relationships, and it could improve your relationship just by communicating those things. And it all boils down to talking to one another, communicating. If you value a relationship, if you want a long-term relationship, you need to sit down with your partner. You need to talk about that, and everything else that's in between. So
and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
And nothing should be off limits. Nothing should be off the table to it. So
And you know what? I just got to read this right quick. Where
mhm.
he says, most men won't be able to handle the truth. We're talking about
He
helping a
said
woman
will or
reach.
won't be. What'd you say? They will or won't? He says they will or they won't.
Most men won't be able to
Won't.
handle the truth, but
Hmm.
she'll appreciate you caring enough to ask. So he's
Hmm.
saying men should initiate a conversation with their woman when it comes to those things. He says at least you both will know some changes need to be made. So unless you express how you feel, they'll never know.
Exactly. And that's what we
Yeah,
encourage you to do. If you're having issues, you don't want to take our word for it, do a little research, do a little reading. You know,
right.
it is so simple now, Lavenda, that we don't have to go to the library or anything. We can just anything you want to know, just Google
Pick
it.
up your
Just
phone.
pick up your phone. You get everything is in the palm. Everything you want to know in life is right here in the palm of your hand. Okay. You can do
Right.
anything with that little device. Anything with that little device and just do a little research and but I want to thank Dr. Sandy Winborn for chiming in today, and
Yes.
that's what we want folks to do. I want your live comments. If you got some comments, don't be afraid to. There's so I ain't put my name up there because these guys, people gonna think this and people gonna think that, just like you thought I was gonna judge you because you masturbate. I'm not gonna judge you. I applaud you
Are you talking to
because you.
me?
I'm talking to you. You. I know every time that you masturbate, you're a happy person when you come to work that day. I said, she done had you some. I said, well, look, oh, this week gonna be a good week.
What
But
makes you
when
think
you
I don't
come
have
in, when you
somebody in my
coming in,
life? What
huh?
makes you think I don't have somebody in my life?
Well, you do. Look how happy you are. Look at how you smiling and you must have somebody in your life. If you
Okay,
don't,
see, you're
if you did,
wrong. This
if you well
smile
well
is
well well maybe because you take matters in your own hands. It doesn't
this
matter.
smile is because I am happy with life itself. I
So
I don't have to be somebody else's half.
now, I know you're lying, but okay, that's okay. Okay, but
What in the world?
you ain't happy. You ain't happy. You got a man in your life somewhere. You probably got a man or something in your life that makes you happy. You ever seen those mean ass women? They
Wait
ain't
a
got no
minute. So
men.
you
They ain't
think
got
it's
no.
because I'm happy, I gotta have a man in my life?
Yeah, yeah,
No, Vernon.
yeah,
There's
yeah. You do.
nobody in my life. There's nobody in my life.
How do you define that? See, you got
How do
scratching
you
on it.
define it? I'm not
I,
talking to anybody.
okay,
Somebody who calls to
maybe you're
check
so
on
glad,
me,
huh?
somebody who um, comes to see me, somebody who texts me a good morning text or a good night. I don't have that in my life. I don't have that.
So why are you so happy?
So
Why do
people,
you?
I'm happy on life. I'm happy because I found
You
her.
take matters in
I'm
your own
happy because I
hands.
know the. See, that's your one track mind. That's your mind. It ain't all about sex. It's not all about sex.
80% of it is.
I would probably be happier. You probably couldn't stand me if I had somebody in my life. You'd be like, calm down, girl. What is your problem? Sit down somewhere. But this is
No. If you got regular orgasm, you'll be so docile. You just don't know. You just think you're happy now. Okay, get you
oh my
a
okay.
get you a regular
You are
man. Get a regular man in your life and
to
start
tell
having regular orgasm. You'll be the happiest woman on earth. We couldn't stand you for being so happy.
okay,
You,
I can't even go there with you because you're thinking like a man. I gotta have a man
I am a
in my life
man. I am a
to
man.
happy. I'm happy on with.
You think you're happy.
Why are you telling
You
me
just
that I
think
think
that you're
I'm happy? I
happy. You
know
just
I'm
think
happy.
you're happy.
What?
You'll be happier if you had a man in your life. You say I don't believe you, but if you had one in your life, you'll be much happier.
Okay,
You're just thinking you are.
so I'm faking it.
Well, I don't know whether you're faking it or not, but if you do good, you're a good actor. But like I say,
It
you're
is.
happy.
I'm very happy. But you know what, now, Vernon, I've been married for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
I am discovering the single life and freedom. That's happiness. You know, I can go and come as I please. let's take this for example. What was that night you called me? What, it was 11 o'clock, 11:30. You want to do some testing on the equipment?
Mhm.
Let's do some. I'm in the bed. I got my hair wrapped up, my head wrapped. I'm in the bed watching a movie.
Right.
If I had somebody in my life, there would be no way that I could get out of my bed, go downstairs, and get on a computer talking about I'm testing some equipment and
With
we're
another
talking.
man. With another
And do your-
man. And I'm testing
what?
another man's equipment right now. I'll be up there shortly.
There's no way. So I'm free. I am free to be and to do what I want to do. And yes, this happiness is genuine. It is because I found and met and embraced and freed the other woman in me. And that's what I want to convey to other women. You don't have to be coupled with someone. I have the key to my happiness. No man, no money, no job. Happiness is within. It sure can't come from a man. I tell you what, it's more women in a relationship wishing they were single. It's more women married wishing they were single. I wouldn't give this up for nothing in the world. I would not give this up. But you always say that. You always say, you're going to change your mind one day. You're going to change. You cannot accept the fact that this is real. And I have nobody in my life. There's nobody. There is somebody who I wish I could spend some time with. I would love to spend more time with this person, but
well, Jesus, well, when you die, you're gonna spend your eternity with him. Okay. Because we don't want you to go just yet. But Lavinda, but I'm glad you said that. It took all that, but to get it out of you, and you're right. I can't take that one. I mess with you a lot. I can bring some stuff out in you, but you're absolutely right. That just epitomize everything that we just talked about. Is that it's choices, individual choices. Some people are like you. They're because you've been there and done that. Okay,
right.
And you see this side is better than obviously than the other side, and so you're woo 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 woo. You're happy, but other people been opposite of you that in your position that are not very happy, and when they get into a relationship with somebody, then they are very happy. So it's again about choices, and again it's about whatever works for you works for you.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I don't promote the Other Woman magazine is not to promote divorce. Please. That was my journey. And the Other Woman magazine came as a result of being released from a 20-year marriage and finding out who I was that I lost in my marriage, being a wife, being a woman. And I try to let women know to find your other woman in your marriage. Don't wait until something happens and you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you start living your life. So I want to convey this to even young women. Find your other woman and release her now, regardless of what your status is, because you got one life to live. So you better live it now. I mean, people dying now, dropping like flies with just the corona pandemic, but people were dying every day before this, just at an alarming rate now. So with the little time that you have left on this earth, please live your life and live it according to your choices, not the church, not mom and daddy, not your best friend, not your whoever. You.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yes.
And that's what I always say, Lavinda, and I agree with you 100% on everything you just said. And I think that far too many people don't find happiness within themselves before they die. Okay.
Right.
I think that is what the Other Woman is all about. You find that other woman or that other person within you that going to find that happiness for you. It might not be then I think we always, Lavinda, live our lives based on societal standards and hoping not to be judged by other people, and you can't live your life like that. And you sometimes people live miserable lives because they think other people are just going to judge them based on that. Just like you had the courage. You had the courage to come out of a 20-year marriage, okay, that you know clearly wasn't working for you. And you probably knew that a lot longer than 20 years when you found it out. But you had things you had to do. And if a person, but that's, like I say, it's an individual's choice. We don't advocate anybody breaking up or anything. But if you're unhappy in your life, don't you think it's time to find happiness for you? If not, why not? If you okay being unhappy, I'm okay with you being unhappy. But if you want to be happy in your life, regardless of what people standards are, what people judge you by, you might not. I used to drive a Hyundai, and folks used to say, Vernon, you a man of your status should be driving Mercedes or something like that. Why would you want to drive a Hyundai? Because I was happy with my little Hyundai. Okay, that's what makes me happy with
Right.
that. Okay, but Mercedes make me happy too. But now all I'm saying is, whatever makes you happy in your life. I'm just joking now, but when getting back to being serious, whatever you find in your life that makes you happy, regardless of what people say about it. I know a guy, Lavender, and he told me out of his own mouth. He owned this exotic car, very expensive car, but he lives in a shack. Well, not live in a shack, but he live way beyond. He live in a house that is not befitting of his car. Okay.
Mhm.
And people judge him by it. So, well, you got this big, fine, very expensive car, but look where you living at. Your house is not all of that exotic and expensive. And so, but he said, I don't give a damn about that. This car makes me happy. This is what I want. I got a roof over my head. My house is paid for. The hell with other folks. And my hat's off to him. My hat's is off to him because he has found true happiness within himself, while other people out there whine about it. And so be it. And that's what I try to tell people about life. Whatever in your life that makes you happy, go for it. You can be unhappy enough. People, I think there's a lot of saying about misery love company. Okay, you can be miserable anytime, but it takes a little bit comfort to be happy. So whatever makes you happy, regardless of what people think about you, okay? Do what you do to make you happy. Because nobody pays your bills but you, okay? Nobody has to give an account for your actions but you. So what? They think.
Yes. And that's the other woman, and we have got to close.
We went on an hour and a half.
They won't come back. They say they talk too long. But the mission of the other woman, it is my mission to help you discover the silenced and often suppressed woman resting within and infuse a desire to live courageously without reservation or regrets. So a lot of women do feel like they're kind of boxed in to their life because, like you said, fear of judgment because of society's standards of upbringing, how they were reared, church, and all of that. And I just got to a point in my life where I said, no more. So to each his own. But anyway, okay, let's go, Vernon. We can talk all night long. Started because we used to have these conversations.
Okay, Sugar, I appreciate that. I enjoyed the conversation. And we want to encourage folks that want to listen in. They can live chat if they want to, live comments on it. And because we want to hear other people's points of views. I got my point of view, Lavender got her points of view, and neither of us may be right, but we got our own different perspective. I learned from her, she learned from me, and we want to learn from you. So tell everybody every Wednesday night, wind down on Get My Blues Farm next week.
Okay, good night, Vernon.
Good night, Sugar. Good night, everybody. Hey, we ain't got but one listen. That's Wendy Sanborn.
I think Dr. Winborn checked out a while ago.
She fell asleep way about 9 o'clock, right?
I'm about to go to sleep drinking this. But anyway, enjoy, Vernon. Talk to you later.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, baby.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.